Solving common issues with the templated system, the Vue section 2. In this section, we'll be looking at some common issues that most developers deal with the templated system for Vue application. In this first video, we'll be looking at the improper use of the HTML-based template syntax. So every Vue.js application uses an HTML-based template. Here is a typical Vue component consists of the template itself, which is on the top, the script or the source, and the style. You can have them placed in any order you like, it should still work. The template provides the syntax to bind the render DOM to the Vue's instances data using a declarative language syntax, just like the HTML syntax. The Vue then compiles this template into the virtual DOM render functions and displays the data to the Vue like the browser window, like you see here. So the most important element in the Vue template is this template element. And so let's take a look at the syntax for creating these templates and explore some common mistakes that developers often make. So here I am in the application. I have created a simple Vue component with nothing in it yet. I have also added to the routing. So I input that in here, line 11. At the very bottom of this file, I also created the path to the sample. So if you go to /sample, we should see the result of this component. So let me close this index file. I'm going to go to the browser. And this is the home page of the application. So I'm going to switch this to the sample component. And you should see that it's here. It looks just like it's working, but actually it's not because the component is empty. So if I do inspection where I press the F12 key, you'll see that in the console there are some errors. Let's just say this component is not mounted. Okay, so let's go and fix that. All right, so this is our template, our component. The first thing you do is the template. Okay, so we got that there. That's 3 pieces: the template, the script, and then of course the style. Okay, so we have those 3 pieces here. Again, the order doesn't matter. You can put the script on the bottom, put the style on the top, template in the middle, the bottom. It doesn't matter where you place them. Okay, so now let's finish our script. Here is our common script. We export this out, default, and we're just gonna put that here for now. And then in the style, we'll leave that blank. And then in the top here is where we're going to be dealing with the template. Okay, so again, I'm going to put here in H1. Well, let's put a div to put div in here first. So we need to wrap this with a parent div or a parent tag. Inside here, then we'll put the H1 and we'll put a sample template for the H1. Okay, I'm going to save this. Go to the browser. And so here is the result of that. If I press F12 and look at my console, it should be clear and we are good to go. So that is how you build templates. Now back in here. Again, the order is not important. I can move this to the bottom if I want to, or the middle here. It doesn't matter. Just drag and drop here. If I save, put an exclamation mark so we know here it's working. I save that. Go back to the browser and you see that it's here. So it really doesn't matter. In fact, you can also omit this style completely and you don't need it, because this is only for if you want to apply local styles to this template. So if you take it out, it should not be an issue. As you can see, if I save this now, go back, and it doesn't have any problem. I can reload this. Again, press the F12 key to inspect, and you'll see that there should not be any error in the console. The only ones that are required are the template and the script. So, okay, now I'm just going to back up because it just looked normal, right? Without that, it looks going to be weird. So just leave that back in there. And also, I'll put a script at the top. I mean, the template on the top. And I don't want to confuse you, just because we're so used to these standards here. So let's save this. Now, this is a template. Okay, it's required. This is a HTML5 template. This is not a Vue JS template. This is just regular HTML template. Now, if you are not familiar with the template element, it's just like a placeholder. It holds all this content inside this template if you put that in the browser in the HTML file, you'll see that will not be rendered at all. I can copy this, for example, and put into the index HTML file right here. If I put that inside here, that's just below this comment, put it here, for example. I save this file, go back to the browser, and do a source view. You'll see that the template is actually there. Probably didn't refresh it. So I refresh it. So there it is. So it's in here. Okay, it exists in there. If I do a source view, the F12 key to view the console, go to the element to view the DOM. It should be there as well. Inside here, it should be at the bottom of this page. Let me refresh this again. So right here. Okay, it's right here. It's not rendered to the DOM. It's not rendered to the browser. As you can see, it's not shown there. And this is a HTML5 element. If you want to show that to the view here, you would have to use a JavaScript to clone whatever is inside here and then attach that to the DOM tree. As you can see, it renders a fragment. Okay, so that is the template. I'm going to remove this. I'm just going to undo everything here and go back here. So this is really important. Without this template, it will not work. We saw earlier that without it, it actually failed. So you need a template. And the next thing is about text interpolation. Now that is a way of a Vue actually bind data from the view and the source here. This is a one-way binding. So really it's coming from the source to the view. In other words, to put this inside a variable, I could just take this out and put it inside here in the source code. So let's go in here and do a data. We'll create a data function here and we'll return a series of data. So we'll put this as a message, and the message will store this string up here. I'm just going to copy this and put it right in here. Okay, so this is a string. And so to show this message up here, I will change this. I'll remove that exclamation mark, and then we'll replace this whole line of code up here with a pair of double curly braces. So this is the Vue syntax or expression or template expression to bind data from the source out to the view. So a one-way direction. So in here, I put the message variable from the source. So I save this, go back to the view, and you see that it shows that sample template. Okay. I can also do a lot of things in here. There's some limitations, of course, but I can do like any very simple calculations, things like, let's just put down here an hr, and we'll put a h3 tag, and here I put some expressions, and we'll close the h3 tag. Okay, so I could do something like this: 2 plus 3. That will be evaluated as a mathematical operation, and you should see the value of 5 in here. So it prints out the value of 5. So you can do that. You can also put in here variables. Let's just say I put in 1 as 12, and 2 as 10 maybe, and then we'll put in here, instead of 2 plus 3, we'll put in 1 plus and 2. Okay, again, this will result into a value of 22. If I save this, back to the view, you see that it changes to 22. Okay, I can also do something like this. I can wrap this inside a parentheses, and that will be evaluated into a number of 22. And I can force that to become a string instead of a number. I force that to a string, and I can concatenate that with another number, maybe like 555. Okay, you would think that so in this case I'm not actually adding them, I'm just appending this to the value of this, which is 22, and then 555. So I'm not doing any addition. So you have this, now it's a string text and not a mathematical operation in that sense. So you can do that. another one is you could do, I put another H3, maybe H4 down here. I'll put H4. You can use JavaScript expressions, I mean simple ones. You cannot do any more than that. Like you can say something like, the most common one is that conditional expression or the ternary operator is I can say if n1 is larger, well, let's just say you want to print the larger number. So n1 is larger than n2, if that is true, right? And then when I print n1, otherwise n2. Okay, so in this case, it's going to print n2 because n2 is the larger one. So let's save that. And so here's n2, which is the 12 larger than the 10. You can do that. You can also do something like this. Well, one thing you cannot do, I should say, is put any expression in here, like if and else like that. You cannot do like if n is, equals 0, then you do something. Okay, that's not allowed. So that's some of the limitations that you have. So that cannot be done. Now, the next one is directives. Now, directives are some of the most powerful things inside a Vue application. That is by using some special keywords you can bind to these elements. So these are all one-way binding, right, from the source out to the view. I can go into one of these elements, like the H1, for example, and bind something there. For example, a common one is the class, right? You can bind a class to that particular H1. So usually you have a class and you have a class name maybe called red. And so inside the red, you have to put into style sheet. So I put a class called red, and I'll put that in here, color red. Maybe not that difficult, but just red. So save that, and hopefully that turns red. So here it is, it turns red. Now, you can also, this is just regular HTML, right? I'm not binding anything. If you want to bind it to a variable, you can use the class, and in front of this class, you have the Vue dash, let's see, a bind. Okay, I'm binding the class, so as soon as you put the v-bind here with the colon in the class or the attribute name, this is now controlled by Vue. And what we're putting here is not a single variable, but it's an object. So red is not an object in this case. So that means I can do a object which takes this curlies, a class called red, and it takes a key value pair, so the value will be either true or false. If it's a 1, that's true. If it's true, then it should be rendered. So that renders. If it's false, like a 0, or just the word false, then that should not be rendered. Let me save that. And now it goes back to black. Okay, so you can do that. You can have a multiple classes in here. I can put that in here. I can put like size, a class called size, again, either true or false. Down here, I have to have a size class. And maybe we can put like a font size of maybe like 55px. Okay, so if I save that, you see that that should change to a very large font. Okay, so that is just one way. You can actually turn this into a variable as well and put that inside your code here and make that into an object. Now the other one you can also bind is kind of similar, is style. So basically you put this into a style and you just put this, you put the style rule in here. Okay, so like style, and then the style will be the same thing. It's an object, so you put like the style one is color, the actual color property, and we'll make that a green. Okay, so now that should turn green. Okay, so you can do that as well, kind of follow the same rule, except you have to be really careful with style and a class. So the style is the color or the property, the actual value of that. And again, you can take this into a variable and make that into a list of elements and bind that to that location. And there are many other attributes you can also bind. This is just one way. So if you want to bind these attributes, use the v-bind. If you want to do like if and else block, use the v-if, and we'll go over that in future videos. There's also the event binding. We did that some earlier in earlier videos, but you can bind it to an event. An example of that would be if you go to the login component. Here we are binding an event called submit event to the handle submit function, which is down here. And the binding is using a shortcut with the @ symbol. That is a shortcut, but you can also put the v on, and that is also the same thing. Okay, so it has a shortcut as that as well. So I should say that actually over here, when I bind to the style, I could just actually put that into just a colon like that too, and that should still be fine. Okay, the shortcut. So that is some of those directives, and I think that's most of the important things. We'll go over a lot of these examples in the future, but for now you can bind these attributes using the v-bind or the v-on based on those properties and so forth. So the most important thing again is this template. Just make sure that is there, and you also must have a single root inside your template to make this work.